If you, like me, thought that Last Night at Soho might have some similarities to Night at the Roxbury, oh boy, are you going to be in for a surprise. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about Last Night in Soho, which is coming to theaters on October 29, 2021. I have my most fashionable shirt on. I'm not really a stylish person, so this is about as good as it gets. And I have my lights set to a hue scene called Soho. So I think I'm ready to talk about this film. I'm gonna go into a little bit about the film, what I liked, what I didn't like about it. I'm gonna try to respect Edgar Wright's request to all the people that screen the film to not reveal spoilers about Soho, to kind of leave the surprises to people watching the movie. So I'm gonna try to speak vaguely about it. There might be some spoilers in this review, but I'm gonna really try to not have major spoilers and try to kind of speak in more vague terms than I normally do in my reviews. So apologies. I like Edgar Wright movies, so I want to respect his request. So we will see how that goes. Let's find out together. So Last Night in Soho is an Edgar Wright film. It's directed by Edgar Wright and it's written by Edgar Wright and Krysty Wilson-Cairns. It is a very different film than I expected. I didn't watch any trailers going in, so all I knew was the kind of the bright neon sign poster that I saw at a local theater. I was like, oh, this will be an interesting kind of fun experience. It is very different than that. It is very much a thriller, and the film is billed as a thriller, and it has some different aspects. I mean, it's a strange combination because it has the lights and glamour of the Soho nightlife, and then you have some more sinister aspects that come in as well. And so altogether, I thought it was actually a very unique combination that I did enjoy, although there were a few things I didn't like. But in Last Night in Soho, you have the main character is named Eloise or Ellie. She is an aspiring art student who is coming to London to go to school and learn fashion design. She designs her own clothes, and so she goes to school in London. And it is a very big change for her because she is coming from a small town, going into London. She hasn't lived like a sheltered life, but she is not, she's not used to being around a lot of people, and she's not used to some of the kind of more modern aspects of life. She grew up on a farm. Her grandparents listened to records with her. She kind of loves that 1960s music and a lot of the things about the past. And during her time, she gets to explore that in various visions that she has. And as she is experiencing these visions, some of the more some darker visions also come in, which is where the thriller part comes into this film. So things I liked about this movie. The first is the music. The film is set in the 1960s, and the film has this fantastic, wonderful 1960s playlist that really does set the mood perfectly. I mean, the film does a really good job of transporting you back into this time period. It kind of recreates London for that time period, and the music is a really big part of that. It does help to set the stage. And then I'm going to talk about it in a second, but the music also plays another role in maybe some of the more sinister aspects of the film. But just be warned, like, the music is really good. You're going to love hearing it. It really does kind of evoke that classic time. The second thing I really loved is the style. And this is kind of related to the 1960s part of it. Not the style as in the fashion, although the fashion is pretty interesting. Like, look, I'm not really a fashion person, but I enjoyed seeing the fashion. But the style overall of recreating the 1960s and taking you back into that. And then the way the film kind of explains how Ellie is able to get into how Ellie is able to see and experience the 1960s it's an interesting one, and it does play some tricks with perspective and with her interactions in this time period. And so I thought that was an interesting way to tell a story. And also I just loved seeing the town kind of lit up. It feels like you are going into the past and stepping into a different time period. And I really kind of appreciated that. And then that, coupled with the music, really does transport you back to this time. The third thing I really loved is the sinister nature of the film. And like I said, this is not something I expected. So I came in and I was like, oh, this will be a kind of a fun coming of age where this girl goes to London to discover herself. It is it is that, but it also has different sinister aspects that come into the film fairly early on. It was a nice surprise, right? I didn't expect this to be kind of a more horror thriller themed film, but when the sinister aspects do start coming in, it plays into this overall deeper message, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about. But it does leave you with a feeling of unease because you don't know when it's going to be the glitz and glamour of the 60s and when it's going to be something a little more sinister. And they do start to merge as the film goes on. And the fourth thing I really liked is the overall deeper message. The film touches on some things that you don't really think about when you're maybe relishing the past and the glitz and the glamour and kind of a golden era. But Last Night in Soho does explore some of the darker sides of that. And it explores some of the darker aspects of the past and some dark aspects about society. And I thought that was an interesting take. Although I did think a movie that was released earlier called Lucky, it's on Shudder, and I think you can stream it some other places. I thought that explored it a little bit better, but I did like that this film touched on those and also tried to evoke a deeper message. I really like when films and horror in particular try to use that medium to tell some underlying other stories as well. And so this film does it, although I don't think it does it as well as maybe some other films I've seen this year. So things I didn't like, some of the revelations. I mean, the film has an interesting way of revealing aspects of the past to you, but some of them felt like maybe they were a little bit more confusing than they needed to be. Some of the revelations felt like maybe they were there to confuse the viewer rather than explain it, and I didn't really love that aspect of it. I'm going to try not to say more about it, but there's some of the revelations just felt like they confused the story rather than kind of moved it forward. And the last thing I didn't really like is the ending, and thankfully the ending didn't soil the whole movie for me. But the ending did sour some aspects of the movie. It kind of turns some of the things that you've learned on their head. It changes some of the meaning of some of the revelations that you had. And so I think it felt almost like the ending went for more of a shock type of ending than a natural progression of what we had been learning throughout the film. And so it changed the character of some of the things that I had really appreciated about the film up until that point. And so it did kind of sour aspects of the movie. I'm going to try not to talk any more about it. Maybe after the film is out, I'll do a more spoilerific review of it. But just the ending felt a little clunky for me, and it kind of, I don't know, cheapened is the wrong word. The ending felt a little clunky for me, and it kind of changed some of the things I really appreciated about the film up until that point. But that being said, Last Night in Soho is a very unique experience. You get kind of this melding of this coming of age film and this thriller horror aspects into a very unique type of movie. And I thought that was a fun experience. I thought it was an interesting experience, and I did really enjoy it. So I think, so overall, I think you should, it's an enjoyable movie. I think you should watch it, but the ending did sour a lot of these aspects for me. So that's Last Night in Soho. It's coming to theaters on October 29th, 2021. So you can check it out then. And then hopefully I'll have another video up after that where I can talk a little bit more about some of the, where I can talk a little bit more in depth about some of the things I didn't like. But thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And also check out some of the other videos I've got. I have other video reviews, interviews, unboxing videos, and then every week I do a weekly recommendation of things that are coming out in theaters for rental and on streaming. So I try to give a nice variety, about 8 movies. So check that out if you're interested, and thanks so much.